Hi, welcome back. Today I'm in my dirt pile and I have a few plants that I wanted to propagate. Before I do that, I wanted to show you some grass that I propagated a few weeks ago, and I'll link the video to that in the end of this video. But yeah, so I had divided these grasses into five and then potted them up and put them in the greenhouse for a couple of weeks. And then I checked the roots and they all had roots, so that was amazing. So I decided to plant them out. It's about a month before our last frost date or our first frost date. So I thought that that would give them time to just like settle in and stuff before winter, and then hopefully next spring they'll just like grow really quickly. So yeah, I'll just show you those now. So here they are with their roots. And then I decided to do them in a row of like kind of having the five weaving their way through the white and shade garden. There's also a video to that, which I can also link at the end of this one. Anyway, so then back over here, I have these purple asters, and this is like my favorite time of year to buy these plants to divide because often they've kind of bloomed out. This one's actually looking pretty good, but often they've bloomed out by now, so they're on sale. And then they have like a really good root system because they've been growing all season long. So this one's looking pretty root bound. I don't think I'm gonna really like tease this apart too much because I think it'll come apart when I divide them. And then when I buy them, I look for ones that have like multiple stalks coming up from from the dirt. So that basically just means that maybe they've been growing for a while or it was like a few different stems that were propagated. But basically they're bushy enough that we can divide this, I think, into at least three. And last year I did the exact same thing. I got the exact same plant on sale and I divided it into three and they grew so much. I'll show you some footage from that garden. But like right now they're just like that bed is the aster bed. So I'll just start to play around with the roots a little bit. I see like there's one stalk here that I think is rooted. This might look a little rough, but there's definitely enough roots to go around. So like this baby here, it already has like a few different heads and it has like quite a few roots. So I'm just going to leave that to the side. Okay, that one was a little bit messier on my part, but you can see it still has some good roots. So I'm sure that one will be fine. Even this one, I might just do this for the experiment, but it has a couple tiny roots, and I think that that's like all it needs. I'll see if I can get a couple more bigger ones. A couple more little ones. And then this one is kind of like one main trunk, so I might actually kind of tear it and just make sure that the smaller half still has a bunch of roots still attached. There we go. So this is like a pretty good clump and it has good roots. And then this is like the biggest one. Amazing. So I'm just going to put them in pots. And basically, this soil has been out all summer. So it's kind of just like, you know, maybe not like the best quality at this point, but I think that it'll be fine for these guys and it still has like a bunch of nutrients. It's the same mix that we used for our veggie beds and stuff and for a lot of other projects. So I'm just doing like kind of the classic, like filling it up about a third of the way and then slanting it down. And then I can slide this guy. I actually might tease the roots a little bit more. And by tease, I mean like tear off. Gently put that back in there. The good thing about this soil is that it's kind of sandy and dry, so I can actually just shake it and I know it's like going in and filling in all the little cracks and stuff. And then once I water it, it'll just like settle. Like this is already like just like a really cute plant. Just making sure the soil's at like about the same soil level. Okay, so three like cute little aster plants. And we'll see with these. I think I might just keep them in the pots over winter. But if it ends up being kind of a mild fall like it was last year, I'll see if in a couple weeks they've started to root out. I may just put them in the ground. I'll play it by ear. Now for these last ones, because they have like really small root systems, I'm going to treat them more like cuttings. So I'm going to plant them all together kind of at the edges of this pot here. Hmm. I don't really have a poker, but I'm just going to kind of do them one at a time. So that one can go in that corner. This one can go in this corner. And he can go up here. Awesome. So with all these guys, I'm going to water them really well. Um, and there's actually this little baby one here, but because it has such good roots, I don't mind that the upper growth is really small because I know it's going to catch up really fast. Just making sure that the roots, I don't know if you can even see, but just making sure that the roots are going like all the way down. That's why I do like the slant thing. Because anything that's like not growing in the right direction, I think kind of just rots away. I don't think it can really adapt. Like from the main ones that are supposed to go downwards, I don't know that they actually recover, or maybe it just takes them a long time. Awesome. So that's at least like, three big ones, one little one that's definitely going to survive, and then of these kind of cutting ones, I think all three can survive, maybe just two or one, but like either way, it's like a bunch of plants just from one discounted plant. So I love that. I'm going to clear these away. And then I have this hosta here. So for this hosta, I got it last year. I think it was like a Walmart like rescue slash sale, like one of their I don't know, in their parking lot sometimes they have some of their like really kind of death's door plants that are for like, a couple of dollars. Anyways, I think it was one of those, and I had tried the thing where you put it in a pot and then put the pot like in a pond, supposedly to protect it from animals that would otherwise eat it. But I don't know. I don't know if I did it wrong, but it basically hardly grew, or it was just in like such bad shape. But then over winter, I think it like grew, or the roots grew, because then this spring there were a bunch of new shoots, and then it's been growing really well. And now the leaves are starting to kind of yellow, um, like in the non kind of good way. I think just like a little too much sun and drought, and now it's been getting like a little cool in the evenings. So I think it's like getting ready to go to sleep. So I think that's like a good time to divide it. And there's at least three kind of main clumps in here, so I want to tip it out, see what the roots are doing, and as long as everything kind of looks good, then I'll just tear it apart into those three clumps, and then overwinter it, and then next year, hopefully those will have all become, a few new shoots as well, and then I can have like three big clumps. I know these ones can get kind of root bound too, so I'm kind of curious if this will want to even come out or if it just has like roots all the way around. I love the design on the inside of the pot. I don't know if you can see that from there. So we have some pretty good roots, so that's awesome. So, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clumps. But I don't think I want to break them down that small because I think it will take, like I want it to look like 3 big clumps next year. So I think I might take these 4 here that are kind of together already. I'm going to see if I can just kind of go straight down here, separate whatever is connecting these two. Well, here's the first one. And it's a really big clump, and it has really good roots. So that's going to be huge next year. And then from these two, I'll see if I can divide them into 2 slightly smaller, but still good clumps. So I'm trying to decide where to cut here. And basically, I don't want to have to cut twice, like in 2 different spots in order to separate. I just want to cut in one spot. So I think I might just cut this one alone, because the other ones are all pretty close to each other. Well, I think this one will do pretty well. This one will definitely do well. And I'm tempted to take one more off. Okay. So 3 big ones, and then this one I think is basically a big one. This one is the maybe, but I think it will survive. It has some roots, and it has some of that like kind of heavy stalk that was connecting all of them, so I think that's all it needs. I'm going to get these in the ground, or at least in soil, pretty quickly, but I'm going to need some bigger pots because I underestimated their roots. So again, with this long one, I can't make it go all the way down, so I'm actually just going to cut the bottom of it, and it's already branching out, and I think that will just make it branch out even more. So this one especially I'm packing down a lot because it had the smallest root system. So for these hostas, as far as I can tell, they like pretty rich soil. Like I think they'll just like grow a lot better with good soil. And they like good access to water, but not necessarily to be in water as much. Like even when I put it in the pot in the water, I had it in a pretty tall pot, so only like the bottom of it was in the water. But maybe that was part of the problem. I don't actually know. But I think overall they're pretty like tough and easygoing, so I don't like worry too much. The only ones that seem to have like really suffered for me this year were the ones that I had planted somewhere that was like really sunny and kind of dry, even though they were like a hosta that was supposedly like rated for like you could grow it in full sun. I think it would be fine if it had had like a ton of water. So maybe something like that, growing it in a pot would work, or growing it like in a pot like in water. Sweet. Okay, so we ended up with a bunch of plants. So 5 of the Hostas, and then let's call it 5 of the Asters as well. So that's super. I'm gonna keep these outdoors. I might put the little like seedling asters in the greenhouse just so that they're a little bit more sheltered. These guys are all pretty tough, so I'll just leave them out, but I'm gonna put them up against the house so that they don't have to deal with too much wind. Because especially for anything that's not like super rooted in well, it might kind of like rip it out if it gets too much wind. Just topping this one up a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna haul in the hydrangea and show you what I'm working with. So before I filmed it, my plan was to actually divide this all up on camera, kind of cut it into 3 main pieces, and then plant it straight out. But what I discovered was I think the roots were, they didn't seem like they were super deep. I almost feel like they were kind of shallow and wide. So they have all these kind of like, I don't know, almost tubular, tuber looking roots that kind of were going out and everywhere. And then on those, they have these like little fibrous roots. So I think everything, there seemed to be a lot of the fibrous roots kind of clinging to the big ones. So hopefully those are still attached. And then if I just divide it into pieces, I think I'm going to put it in pots. And I have some of the soil that we grew potatoes in this year, which I think will be perfect for the hydrangea because it doesn't like it too rich. And I think especially now I want the roots to just like be looking everywhere for food so that they can like grow quickly. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I might even cut it up. There's some pieces like this where this was basically like a runner that started growing kind of more plant. Ooh, I just cut that. Anyway, but like this guy here, I think it was like a runner from the main plant or maybe a branch that like laid down and layered itself. But like this one would be a cute like little plant. So I can cut that right there. It has main root and then it has like some of the little fibrous stuff. So I think that that would do great. And I think this is the time of year from what I read is like as the plants slowly starting to go to sleep, the leaves are changing color and stuff. I think it'll just kind of rush it into dormancy and then the roots will grow. That's the plan. So I'll tackle this guy and then I'll check back in. Okay, well, that didn't exactly go according to plan. So I started dividing the hydrangea and I managed to disconnect or like cut off like 8 different plants. So that was amazing. So I got 3 big ones that had like a pretty decent root system and at least a couple like leader stalks. And then I got 5 little ones as well. So pretty good. And my thought is there's a spot kind of between us and the neighbors where we wanted to kind of build up a little bit of an informal hedge with just different shrubs and things like that. We're primarily focusing on native ones. I think I'll end up making a video about that whole space because it's kind of cool. But these hydrangeas are North American native, so although they're not native to here, it felt kind of close enough, and the bumblebees love them. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of like intersperse those throughout that area. And then when it came to cutting up the big one, my plan was to cut it into 2 or 3 and kind of have like some like ready to go giant clumps, but it didn't go like that. I found like a place where I thought I could naturally kind of split it, and I started using my little root saw to cut the root ball, but it was like really hard. And then I kind of tried with a shovel for a little bit, and then that didn't work either. So I ended up deciding to keep it as one big clump. And we had a spot that had this yucca that was just like struggling a lot. It was kind of overgrown with like some like little blackberries and things like that. So I really wanted to dig that up to put it somewhere that would get more light anyway. So it felt perfect to dig that up and then put the hydrangea in that spot. And it actually looks amazing there, I think. Like the color looks really good, and the bed in the foreground, there's a lot of reds and plums. So like as the hydrangea leaves turn to that like deep kind of plummy chocolate color. I think it'll look really good in the space as like a backdrop. And then it's also under these gigantic big leaf maple trees, which like I don't know, there was a weird sense of scale there, whereas like you couldn't see the whole tree. It was kind of just the trunk and there was nothing at the bottom. So I think it actually like fills that in really nicely too. So anyway, I'm really happy with how that turned out. So now I have the 8 little hydrangeas all tucked away just on against the side of the house. They'll still get morning sun, they'll still get some rain, they just won't get a lot of wind. And those ones are really hardy, so I'm not really worried about winter. I'd rather just like them get used to the environment here. I also have the hostas out there, and I have all the asters too. And I'll just put that one with the ones that like didn't really have roots. I'll put that one in the greenhouse. So I think that's everything. It ended up being kind of like an epic dividing day, and there's still more to do. I have the spot where I took the hydrangea out, so I think I might put a rose in there. We'll kind of play it by ear. I'll sit with like what we did and kind of see where we have gaps and see what I want to use and stuff. But thanks for coming along today, and I'll catch you next time.